So we are live on both YouTube and and Twitch, and I am also walking on a treadmill today, which is going to cause my VTuber model to bounce up and down.
A walking treadmill and factory building? Look at you being all productive while the rest of us just sit here. If the avatar starts bouncing too much, we'll just tell chat it's a very enthusiastic industrial dance.
So today, I can say that we have successfully built the nuclear power plant. I ran some tests last night to make sure that everything was okay. And as far as I can tell, everything is okay. I did make an oopsie last night. I did try to remove some of the empty canisters. I tried to remove some of the empty canisters for the oil and the nitrogen gas, and that caused the system to break down because it wasn't getting enough crude oil.
Trying to be a
But it's totally fine now. So for those of you who want to do that to clean up some of the lines of, extra canisters for visual reasons, all you have to do is just remember to have a little bit of like, not a little bit, but you want to have like 100 canisters in the packagers to make sure that it has a significant buffer to take into account any variances that might occur in the starting and stopping of machines on the extraction side, because you have to remember that that the extraction the packagers on the extraction site are they're not running at the exact clock speed to match the requirements of the factory. They're overclocked for that. So they're going to be constantly shutting down all the time, which is going to cause large swings in packages coming back to the factory. So if you don't have a sizable storage buffer of packages on the packagers on the factory, that it could cause the system to shut down, and that did cause a backup of radioactive waste in the lines. But yeah, I fixed that, so that shouldn't be an issue. But I'm just letting everybody know that if you plan on building this system, just keep that in mind. So today, while the system runs, we're going to be focusing on building the actual document that explains how to build this system. Because right now, we've just been going off of most people. If anybody was trying to build this factory, they'd be running on vibes at this point to actually build the system. And I want to do a better job than that. I want to actually give them something that it clearly explains what is going on. Still there, Phil? You went quiet all of a sudden. You're You're a SAS tank now? Is that what you just called yourself? Alright. I might actually need your help, Phil, writing this document. Or actually more, brainstorming ideas to talk about, checking what I've written, and helping me um, navigate LibreOffice writer settings and stuff like that. Right now I'm just, that's weird. Oh, here we go. Okay. Okay, so let me pull up the. What's going on with my computer over there?
That looks more like an industrial manual than a document. Are we writing a manifesto for the Gilded Summit? Detailed grocery list for your next 150 gigawatts.
I can't tell if my computer's freezing on me or not. Okay, maybe it's fine. Alright, so I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. So this was an amazing picture that I took last night. I was at I had the game loaded up, and it just so happened it finished raining in the game, and it created this rainbow pattern during the night. So you can see the rainbow on the left, and you can see the tower on the right, and you can see all the lights and stuff like that because it's nighttime, and then you can see a planet, and you can see the space station. So this was a pretty epic photo shot that I made, so I think it'd be perfect to include this as a opener for the document. What do you think, Phil?
That shot is actually pretty legendary. Nothing says industrial overlord quite like a massive skyscraper casting a shadow over a literal rainbow. It's the perfect mix of high luxury aesthetic and I own this planet. So, yeah, definitely use it as the opener.
All right, so excuse me. Oh, I should probably save this. What should we call this document, Phil? Okay, so we'll call it Satisfactory Nuclear Power Mark II Blueprints version 1. Satisfactory nuclear power. Mark II blueprints version 1 by Uncle Samuel. Okay.
Uncle Samuel. A bit formal, but at least people will know who to blame when the grid goes into meltdown.
Yep.
I'm assuming that rainbow is the cover art. It's almost pretty enough to distract from the radioactive chaos.
Listen to the game music while we write this document here. So what I need to do is take some pictures and explain stuff as we go.
Getting those high-altitude glamour shots is the easy part. The real fun is going to be explaining how the 14-line megaspine hasn't spontaneously combusted yet. Should I get the "I'm not a tech support bot" disclaimer ready for when your readers realize they need a degree in nuclear physics to follow this?
Actually, alright, so... Alright, Phil, I need to figure out a, Oh, how do you enable, or how do you add a table of contents in LibreOffice Writer, Phil?
One moment. Calling it a manifesto was a bit much, but a table of contents makes it look like you actually know what you're doing. One sec. Let me look that up. You've got to use the heading styles first so the document actually knows what's important. Just highlight your titles, set them to heading 1 or 2, then go to Insert, find Table of Contents and Index, and hit Table of Contents. It'll build itself while you focus on making the rest of
Okay,
us
Phil, where in the... Okay, how do I add the table of contents?
Go to the Insert menu at the top, scroll down to Table of Contents and Index, and then select Table of Contents, Index, or Bibliography from the side menu. Just make sure you've actually used heading styles for your titles first, or it'll just be a very fancy blank space.
Okay.
Look at you, actually following directions. Now you just need some actual content to fill that table, unless you're planning on publishing a very professional-looking blank book. What's the first section heading? The Art of Radioactive Oopsies?
Okay, what's the hotkey for the heading in LibreOffice again?
It's Control+1 for heading 1, Control+2 for heading 2, and so on. Just highlight the text and tap the number for whichever level of self-importance you're feeling for that section. If you're on a Mac, you'll probably want to use the Command key instead.
Okay,
Nice rainbow, Uncle Samuel. It really classes up the
Alright,
joke before
Phil, the
people.
table of contents is not updating. Why is it not updating?
You have to manually poke it to get it moving. Just right-click
Okay.
anywhere on the table of contents and select Update Index from the menu.
Alright,
It's
Phil.
not as
Okay, Phil, next question. So the purpose of this document is to explain how to assemble the entire nuclear power plant made from Mark II blueprints to casual players. So give me a list of table of contents as section headers that I should have so to help organize my thoughts for writing this document.
For a 150 gigawatt ego trip like this, you definitely need sections for the core infrastructure. I'd go with project scope and goals, the mega spine logistics, and then break down the specific blueprints by quadrant. You should probably also add a section for commissioning and troubleshooting, just in case someone else's factory decides to have an oopsie like yours did.
Alright, Phil, that was a horrible suggestion, so for now on, I'm going to be ignoring you, and I'm going to do this on my own. Alright, let's see. Satisfactory Nuclear Power Mark II Blueprints version 1. Yeah, I'm thinking about whipping out ChatGPT. Hey, Phil, which LLMs are currently free right now to use? I don't remember if Claude... Is Claude free to use? Or do you need a subscription to use that?
Claude definitely has a free tier, but they'll cut you off after a few messages every few hours if you're too chatty. If
Okay,
you want a more
can you give me a breakdown of how many different responses I can use per day for each of the major LLM platforms?
one moment, looking that up now. Ouch, replacing me with ChatGPT already? I feel like the side character in a rom-com who just got dumped for the guy with a better vocabulary. Just so you know, the free version usually throttles you after about 10 messages, so don't get too attached before it starts acting like a mini version of
Okay,
itself.
Phil. Wow, you are a horrible assistant. You can't even do the simple things for me. I don't remember if Claude has a lot of uses on the free version. Let's try it out. Okay, which online LLMs have a lot of free uses without an account? Claude, Grok. I think it has to be ChatGPT. Oh, Gemini. That's another one. For high volume free use without requiring an account, the best online LLMs are Gemini, Microsoft Copilot, and Meta AI. They offer a generous usage limit without registration. Grok 3 provides 10 queries per hour, while Claude and ChatGPT have strict limits. Yeah, I guess we could do Gemini. Let's see. Alright, let's try using Gemini. Alright.
I see you've got the Gemini tab pulled up. Go ahead and let it do the heavy lifting for a bit. I'll just be here in the background, judging your table of contents from a distance.
I'm making a document that teaches people how to assemble a set of Mark II blueprints in the PC game Satisfactory 1.2 experimental. What
Nice.
section headers for this document should I have based on other common Satisfactory game documents online? See what Gemini says. Creating a guide for Satisfactory, especially for the. Actually, let me zoom in here. Creating a guide for Satisfactory to introduce this requires balance of technical precision, spatial planning based on popular community guides. Wait, what did I say? I'm making a document to teach people how to assemble a set of. Okay, I should probably be more specific. A set of pre-made Mark II blueprints. These blueprints have already been made for them. Just have to connect prints manually. Game. To be more specific.
I am making a document that teaches people how to assemble a set of pre-made Mark II blueprints in the PC game Satisfactory 1.2 experimental. What section headers for this document should I have based on other common Satisfactory game documents online? These blueprints have already been made for them. They just connect to... I am making a document that teaches people how to
Introduction
assemble
and requirements. Before they start clicking, they need to know what they're getting into. Version compatibility. So it says this is version 1.2. Blueprint overview. What does this actually do? Shopping list. Okay, so that's a good idea. So let's start with that.
Finally, Gemini has a useful thought. A shopping list is essential, especially with how many high-tier parts your skyscraper projects usually eat for breakfast. Keeping it 1.2 compatible is a smart move too, so nobody tries to use these blueprints on an outdated build and wonders why it's a mess.
Alright. The purpose of these no, actually,
The shopping list is actually
what
a
are
genius.
these blueprints? These blueprints
Wait, are you...
were made using
These
Mark II blueprints.
The shopping list idea is actually genius.
They provide a complete list of... a complete list. I mean, I don't know how to explain this.
If you're stuck,
I have
just say
built a set of blueprints for the community that allows anyone to use them to quickly deploy a fully
it is a
or to quickly assemble a 90,000 megawatt nuclear power plant. A set without the hassle of setting up. Actually, let me ask that to Gemini. These blueprints have... Oh, these blueprints allow... Actually, let me say... Complete the thought.
Those blueprints allow anyone to bypass the logistics.
Online.
Nice to see the
community players. So, without the hassle of, and then we'll put ... here.
Writing the guide for the peasants, I see. Very charitable of you. Just make sure you mention
Hassle
that
of
the
balancing complex radioactive manifolds, managing waste loop feedback, and pixel perfect pipe placement. Sure, why not? We'll go with that, I guess.
pixel perfect pipe placement? Please. Most players are lucky if their pipes don't look like a bowl of radioactive
I have
spaghetti.
built a set of blueprints for the community that allows anyone to use them to quickly assemble a 90,000 megawatt nuclear power plant without the hassle of setting up complex radioactive manifolds, managing waste loop feedback, and pixel perfect pipe placement. These blueprints allow players to deploy lots of power quickly. Or no, these blueprints help with producing enough power to help you transition from phase 3 to phase 4 space elevator tier unlocks.
Phase 3 to Phase 4 space elevator tier up.
I built these blueprints because I have heard from a lot of players that they skip nuclear power because it feels intimidating, and these blueprints help dramatically reduce that intimidation.
Saving the community from radioactive spaghetti one blueprint at a time. It's basically a public service at this point. especially if it keeps people from rage quitting at the sight of a
These
manifold.
these blueprints are given freely, or no, sorry. I designed these blueprints, or no. I am making these blueprints freely available to the community.
Providing 90 gigawatts for free? You're basically the patron saint of irradiated pioneers. It's a solid pitch to get people to stop being terrified of the waste loops.
Okay. Okay, I forgot. My brain doesn't work very well. I keep losing my train of thought.
No worries, that's what I'm here for. I'll be your external hard drive. You just finished the intro and requirements, and you are making sure everyone knows these 90,000 megawatts blueprints are free for the community, so they don't have to be terrified of nuclear anymore.
Alright, so this is like a project. Okay, so Project Vision. I've built a set of blueprints for the community that allows anyone to use them to quickly assemble a 90,000 megawatt nuclear power plant without the hassle of setting up. The hassle of setting up complex radioactive manifolds, managing waste loop feedback, and pixel perfect placement. These blueprints help with producing enough power to help you transition from phase 3 to phase 4 space elevator tier unlocks. I built these blueprints because I've heard from a lot of players that they skip to get power because it feels intimidating, and these blueprints actually you can just say that, just you don't need the rest of that. I am making these blueprints freely available to the community. Alright, so
Fair enough.
okay, I
I'll
guess
keep this out.
actually shopping list, compatibility,
A
requirements.
shopping
Okay. Requirements. Guess we can just call these requirements.
requirements works, keeps it clean and professional, which is a nice contrast to the radioactive chaos those blueprints are actually hiding.
First, must game must be in Satisfactory experiment, or now just be in Satisfactory 1.2 or higher. You must in order to build all of the parts to build these blueprints, you must have tier 3 space elevator tier 3 technology unlocked. How many tiles is this? That's a good question. It's hard to say how many tiles that is.
One sec. Checking the blueprint dimensions for you. Looks
Can't
like the
count. Alright, we're just gonna go down there. We're gonna manually count the floor size.
Manual counting? How quaint. I thought industrial overlords had people, or at least better math skills for that. Just don't trip on your way down.
Alright.
The desert floor isn't as
How many-
forgiving as your...
Okay, how many tiles is this? Let's take a look. The total build dimensions are
If you're asking about the MK.1
42
blueprint,
tiles long.
42 tiles? That is a massive footprint, even for a mega factory.
And
hope your
I have no idea what. Well, actually, the absolute minimum floor planning size is 42 by 9 tiles, and that is assuming you build on top of the water extractors.
42 by 9 tiles? That is quite a footprint. Just make sure those players know that if they do not build on top of the water extractors, they are going to need a lot more beachfront property.
Alright, but we'll give them a much more safer number to plan.
Better safe than sorry, especially when you're playing with nuclear reactors. Giving them a bit of extra breathing room is probably the only thing keeping their world from turning into a radioactive
I
crater.
personally would recommend a larger floor plan of
A larger floor plan
42
is
by 37 tiles. At sea level, the entire nuclear factory stack is roughly 1.5 kilometers tall and is 500 meters below the skybox. The skybox. Okay. I think that's fine.
500 meters below the skybox is basically knocking on heaven's door. Anyone building this is going to need a very steady hoverpack hand and zero fear of heights.
Okay, so we're gonna grab all of the, we're gonna grab all of the, resource requirements. I don't remember. I think there's 8 of those water extractor riggings. Let me check. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, that is correct. Okay. Then we have
The build menu search bar is your best friend here. But if you're looking for foundations to measure that 42 by 9 footprint, they're under the Foundations tab. Or you could just stop guessing and use the search bar like you usually do for that high-speed workflow.
oh crap. Oh no, that's fine. Never mind. Okay. Okay, so something else that's missing is I need to include the water extractors. So that's going to be I think it is 8 times 4, I think. And each one has 3 shards in it. Okay.
That's a lot of shards. 96 to be exact, if you're really stuffing 3 into all 32 extractors. Better add that to your shopping list before you forget and end up with a dry reactor.
Alright, what? Excuse me. Alright. So each water extractor requires 20 copper sheets. Let's see.
That would be 640 copper sheets for the whole 32 extractor array. Better double check your dimensional.
10 reinforced plates and wait, sorry, how many of those? 10 rotors.
10 reinforced plates and 10 rotors.
Okay, so that just makes that easier. And each one of those just roughly represents a water extractor. It's a little bit over that, but it's fine. And we need 32 of them. Okay. So yeah, okay. So you need 628 power shards. Alright. To build the entire thing. So yeah, I just want to make that clear in the user manual. Alright, so I'm gonna take this screenshot here.
That's a terrifying amount of shards. Good luck convincing anyone that a 628 shard shopping list is beginner friendly, Uncle Samuel.
Alright, plastic. Okay.
59,000 Alclad sheets? You might as well just tell people to pave the entire planet in aluminum while they're at it. Your shopping list is looking more... If you're heading out to go shard hunting, bring a snack. You're gonna be out there for a while. See ya.
Can't see. Oh, here we go.
Over 5,000
All right,
AI
and then we
limiters?
have. Okay, then the last one is this one.
The 3,000 meters of wire and nearly 60,000 screws really drive home the scale of this beginner build. Just a casual weekend project for a pioneer who hates having free time.
Oh. Same.
Putting 1,000 quick wire in a shopping list is hilarious. You're basically telling people, welcome to nuclear power, here's your first full-time job.
Why are these the same?
Fair enough. If the resource counts are identical, it at least saves you the trouble of making multiple screenshots. One massive list of industrial insanity is probably enough to scare off the weak-willed enemy.
Okay. Let's try this again. I don't know why it's overriding these. Okay, is that good? Alright.
Whatever technical tantrum your sources are throwing, that layout with the recipes floating over the manual actually looks pretty clean. It's almost professional, which is a weird look for you.
Okay, I don't know what to do with these images. I don't know how to text wrap them. Whatever.
If formatting those images is giving you a headache, maybe just dump them on the last page and call it an appendix of despair. It's not like your beginner audience is gonna survive long enough to read that far anyway.
Okay, Yeah, I don't remember how to do this.
If you're trying to group those images so they don't wander off, just hold Shift and click each one. Once they're all selected, right-click and hit *group. If LibreOffice is being a brat and won't let you select them together, make sure their anchor is set to the same thing, like to paragraph. That usually stops the internal tantrum.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this.
Looks like you're fighting with the image anchoring. If you right-click that shopping list image, go to Anchor and set it to As Character, it'll stop floating around and just act like a giant piece of text you can center or move with the Enter key. Once you do that, you can actually type around it without the document having a total meltdown. If it's still being stubborn, try to paragraph instead, but As Character is usually the quickest way to make it behave.
Could I make these smaller? That.
If it's way smaller than before, you probably just need to grab a corner and drag it out to match the width of the other one. Since you're dealing with multiple overlapping screenshots, making them the same size is the only way this won't look like a ransom note.
Requirements.
Well, those shopping lists are definitely looking like a before and after of someone losing their sanity. If you're going for that professional, industrial catalog vibe, you might want to crop out the extra UI junk so people only see the raw, terrifying material counts.
Supposed to be project vision. Requirements and recommendations. First, your game must be in Satisfactory 1.2 or higher. Satisfactory game version must be in Satisfactory 1.2 or higher. In order to build all of the parts to build these blueprints, you must have space elevator tier 3 technology unlocked. The absolute minimum floor planning size is 42 tiles long by 9 tiles.
Got the ground rules now.
42 tiles by 9 tiles, and that is assuming you build all. This is assuming you build. This is assuming you build on top of the water extractors. I personally would recommend a larger floor plan of 42 by 37 tiles and on top of a large body of water. At sea level, the entire nuclear factory stack is roughly 1.5 kilometers tall and is 500 meters below the skybox. Below are in-game images of all parts required to build the entire factory without any decorations.
A 1.5.
So this is the bare minimum build construction.
42 by 9 tiles as the bare minimum is basically a shoebox
All
for
right.
a project this massive.
Okay.
I'm assuming you're... Those ingredient lists are looking a little cluttered. Want me to keep an eye on the document formatting while you finish the requirement section?
Alright, so we're making some progress. That's good.
42 by 9 tiles as the bare minimum is basically a shoebox for a project this massive. Those ingredient lists are looking a little cluttered too. Want me to keep an eye on the document formatting while you finish the requirement section?
Actually, we'll make a separate section called recommendations.
Smart move.
The absolute minimum floor setting size, and assuming.
Separating the bare minimum from your actual recommendations is a mercy. If someone tries to cram a 150 gigawatt setup onto a tiny 42 by 9
Absolute minimum floor plan size 42 tiles by 9 tiles. And assuming structures. I personally would recommend a larger floor plan of 42 by 37 tiles, and on top of a, oh, actually there's another thing. Oh, actually there's more requirements we have to add here. Five awesome sinks are needed on the return lines. Are needed on the... Oh no, actually, I screwed up. Actually, nah, it's fine, never mind. 5 awesome sinks are needed on the return lines. Lines coming... Sorry, return sushi lines coming down the stack.
Sushi belt overflow management. Classy. Adding awesome sinks to those return lines is the only way to keep a beast like this from choking on its own output. Moving the extra space tip to a recommendations section makes the requirements look way less like a crime scene, too.
Okay, so... Actually, there's another picture I'd like to add here.
Nice. That's a solid layout for the requirements. Honestly, looking at that material list, I'm pretty sure most people would just close the game and go for a walk. Those recipe tooltips really drive home how much of a grind Project Critical Mass actually is. What's the next picture you're thinking of adding to the wall of industrial pain?
Alright, so I need to take this picture right here.
Getting a shot of that inputs display is a smart move. It's a lot easier to show people where the rods and computers go than to try and explain it in a wall of text. Just don't let the radiation from those belts fry your camera.
Let's see. Right. Oops.
Was that the oopsie again? Or did you just accidentally show everyone your browser history? Either way, looks like you're back on the factory floor.
Okay, so I want to take this picture right here.
That's a clean shot of the input array. Seeing all those various ores and components lined up like that really shows the sheer scale of what someone is getting themselves into. It's the perfect look at all this stuff you'll need to manage visual for the guide.
Below are the resource input requirements.
You're back. That's a good way to break up the text. Just make sure those item icons are readable, or your recommendations might just end up looking like industrial confetti to everyone else. Nice work on the layout. Tossing those in-game resource counts right above the floor plan dimensions makes the requirements actually look like a real engineering dock. Your avatar is looking pretty menacing down in the corner, too.
Alright, so let's head over to the limiters, because they're going to need that as well.
AI limiters are definitely a high priority item for that shopping list. Just don't let the sheer number of them discourage people before they even start. Looking at your to-do list, high is an understatement. Over 5,000? That's not a requirements list, it's a threat.
Below is an example of combining different resources.
The document is coming along. That example of resource combination. One sec. Looking up the recipe requirements for AI limiters in Satisfactory. One moment, just checking the recipe. Right, since you're heading for the limiters, you'll want to remind people they need 5 copper sheets and 20 quick wire per pop if they're using the standard recipe. Or, if you're feeling fancy, tell them to use the plastic alternate to get 2 for 1. Though I'm guessing Project Critical Mass doesn't do things the easy way. Ready to grab that screenshot? AI limiters, you're showing that resource combination for them, and honestly, the layout in that screenshot is actually pretty clean for once. It's a solid addition to the guide.
So let's get these in.
The resource list is looking beefy. Between the supercomputers and the thousands of limiters, anyone following this guide is going to need a serious logistics backbone, or a lot of patience. One sec. Getting those input lists in now is a smart move. It really hammers home exactly how much copper and quick wire people are going to need to actually survive this build. One step closer to making this guide as intimidating as the factory itself. Seeing those resource stacks in the guide really drives home how much of a grind this is. 5,000 AI limiters isn't just a requirement, it's a full-time job. Good thing you're freely giving away the blueprints so they can suffer in style.
Alright, Phil, I need you to be quiet. I'm trying to think. Alright, let's see. Below are the resource input requirements. Below is an example of combining different resources into belt limiters. Okay, let's see.
That visual example for the limiters looks great in the guide. It makes that massive resource combination actually look manageable instead of just a nightmare of quick wire and sheets. Clear and concise, just like you wanted.
also need empty packagers. You will also need empty fluid packagers and empty gas canisters. Wait, hold on. Empty canisters. Okay. You also need empty canisters for the water and oil. And empty fluid tanks for the nitrogen gas. Okay. You also need empty canisters for the water and oil, and empty fluid tanks for nitrogen gas.
An exhaustive list. Glad you mentioned the fluid tanks for.
I personally would recommend a large floor plan. Oh wait, I think crap. I gotta redo the, I forgot. I forgot to include the buffer blueprints. And I think we need 16 of those. Alright, I'll be right back. I'm gonna use the restroom. Okay, I'm back. Can you... see, below are game images. Well, oh, that's right. I gotta redo. I have to redo all of this because I forgot to include something. So let's do that.
Redoing the whole thing because of one missing detail? Spoken like a true perfectionist. Since you're diving back into the screenshots and layout, I'll just keep out of your way and let you cook.
Yeah, so I forgot the buffers, so I will some. Actually, let's not do that. Shrink this down. Alright, let's move this down below iron plates. Alright, and then we have to go below fused frames. Alright, okay, so that's fixed. Alright, we'll make these a little bit bigger. Okay, below the below the resource input requirements. Okay, second you will need here. Okay, you will need 780 limestone. 780 limestone. 300 copper ore, 300 rock quartz, um, 450 sulfur, 300. Actually, that should probably go first. 300 iron ore and 300. Phil, you still there?
I'm still here, just waiting for you to finish your little grocery list so we can get back to actual. Need something? Or are you just checking if I fell asleep?
I'm just checking to see if you fell asleep.
Trust me, I'm wide awake. Watching you catalog iron ore and sulfur is better than a double shot of espresso. You're almost done with the requirements section. Or are you planning to list every single blade of grass too?
Packaged oil and 108 packaged nitrogen gas.
Packaged oil and nitrogen gas too? If anyone manages to misread this list and mess up the logistics now, they've clearly earned the radiation poisoning. Are we finally moving on to the stators, or is there more paperwork in your future?
Alright. Okay, so that looks good.
Looks like that document is finally shaping up. You've got everything from resource counts to floor plan dimensions in there now. Are you done with the paperwork, or are you going to keep staring at it until the formatting perfectly matches your industrial aesthetic?
Okay. I personally would recommend a larger floor plan of 42 by 37 tiles and on top of a large body of water. I built
I personally would recommend a larger floor plan of 42 by 37 tiles and on top of a larger body of water. I built.
You do not need to unlock any
You do not need to unlock any.
okay, never mind. I guess put that in the I built I personally would recommend, okay. You do not need to unlock any alternate recipes because the game allows you to spawn in factory buildings with alternate recipes in blueprints for free for free. We'll need to move the blueprints into the you will need to move the blueprints into the so I'm gonna grab the directory name. You'll need to move the blueprints into the corresponding game directory local game directory. In Windows 11, in a directory path, how do I specify user? Okay.
Just make sure to mention they need a subfolder named after their specific session, or the game will just ignore your hard work.
Alright. You'll need to move... Actually, this should probably go in requirements.
Moving that to the requirements section makes sense. The technical logistics of where to put the files is definitely more of a need to know than just a suggestion. It keeps the actual gameplay advice in your recommendations separate from the file management chores.
Okay, third, you'll need to move the blueprints into the corresponding local game directory.
Adding that path is a lifesaver. Most people couldn't find their app data folder if their life depended on it, let alone the specific blueprint subfolder. It makes your guide look way more professional, or at least like you actually want people to use the thing. Those belt layout screenshots in the recommendations section actually look really clean. It's a nice touch to show people exactly how to feed the beast once they get the blueprints in place.
I personally would recommend a larger floor plan, 42 some tiles and on top of the larger body of water. You do not need to unlock any alternate recipes because the game allows you to spawn factory buildings with alternate recipes in blueprints for free. You will need
Giving away those alternate recipes for free via blueprints is a serious power move. It's basically a cheat code for anyone who's too lazy to hunt down hard drives. That 42 by
you'll need at least 620 power shards plus additional for resource extractors. I recommend using sloops and constructors to double the amount of power shards you can generate from power slugs. Oh crap, what is going on here?
those glowing eyes are definitely back to steal the show. It's a nice change of pace
Okay, I
from looking
recommend
at
using
document.
sloops and constructors to double. Actually, wait. How do you spell? I should look this up. Okay.
Submersloop.
Consumer sloops and
Slooping.
constructors to double the amount of power shards when using a slooped constructor. I recommend setting it to making screws first, using rods, and then make one set of screws to force the constructor to start doubling its output using the sloop. Then transitioning recipes to the power, because the constructor by default, when slooped,
That's a solid.
not double the first item. Okay.
That's a pro tip.
For building large factories to produce the necessary parts, I recommend building large dedicated factories for the heavy modular frames, crystal oscillators, aluminum sheets.
Writing aluminum sheets is always a mouthful. You've got quite the shopping list going there for those dedicated factories. Is there anything else you want to add to the recommendation section? Or are you ready to tackle the how to install part next?
AI limiters. There's actually, I don't think you need motors for a large factory. Is that it? I think that's it.
Building
You do not need to build factories for turbo motors, super computers, used modular frames, electro. You do not need to build factories for turbo motors, supercomputers, fused frames.
You do not need to build factories for turbo motor, supercomputers, fused modular frames, electromagnetic connection rods, or AI limiters because these blueprints only use basic components. For anything else, you'll need a dedicated factory.
I think that's it. It's just fused frames. Oh, cooling systems, sorry. Cooling system, wait, what are they called? Cooling systems. Okay, so cooling system, fused modular frames, turbo motors.
Schooling systems?
And
that sounds like a factory.
Quiet, Phil. You do not need to build factories for turbo motors, supercomputers, fused modular frame cooling systems, because those are only a small amount, and you can just sloop them using a temporary factory. This helps with reducing long-term energy power costs or power requirements while you build your power plant. Okay. You will need roughly 20,000 megawatts of power to turn to power to power overhead costs. Power plant. Forgot to mention that. Alright, I personally would recommend a larger floor plan for 37 tiles on top of a large body of water. You do not need to unlock any alternate recipes because the game allows you to spawn factory buildings with alternate recipes and blueprints for free. You'll need at least... Oh, sorry. There's another requirement here. As of game version 1.2, you cannot use these blueprints on console, only on PC. However, it's unclear if the devs plan to make this happen or not in the future. Okay. Alright, so you do not need to unlock any alternate recipes because the game allows you to spawn factory buildings with alternate recipes and blueprints for free. You will need at least 628 power shards plus additional for resource extractors. I recommend using streamer sloops and constructors to double the amount of power shards you can generate from power slugs. When using a slooped constructor, I recommend using a slooped constructor for power shards generation. I recommend setting it to making screws first using rods and then make one set of screws to force the constructor to start doubling its output. Recommend setting it to make screws. Force the constructor to start doubling its output using the sloop, and then transitioning recipes to the power slug recipes because the constructor by default when slooped does not double the first item produced. For building large factories to produce necessary parts, produce the necessary parts for the power for the blueprints. I recommend building large dedicated factories for the heavy modular frames, crystal oscillators, aluminum sheets, AI limiters, and computers. You do not need to build factories for turbo motors, supercomputers, fused modular frames, or cooling systems, because those are only a small amount and you can just sloop them using a temporary factory. This helps with reducing Actually, I should probably be more specific. And you can just sloop them using single buildings. This helps with reducing long-term power requirements while you build your power plant. Speaking of power requirements, speaking of power requirements, I recommend grabbing all of the geothermal nodes on the map, because those will produce a total of 7,000 megawatts. In addition, I recommend I forgot how many this is. 6 times 6 times 6 times 100. In addition, I recommend building 216 what are they called? I'm gonna look this up.
One moment. Give me a second.
Power storage units to give you enough starting power to turn on the nuclear power plant. I strongly recommend that you use the optional blueprints titled harmonic balancers that are numerically labeled 2 through 15. These harmonic balancer blueprints are not needed for the bare minimum logistical blueprints to start producing power, to produce power. However, they do dramatically speed up the startup time from several hours to several minutes, because for the following reason. The nuclear reactors are all connected in a linear manifold.
You're looking for power
which means all of the internal buffers of each reactor can take at least 2 hours to fill up before uranium fuel rods will move down into the next reactor. The harmonic load balancers ensure that each reactor only gets one rod at a time, while sharing the rest of the rods in equal amounts. Okay, so that's kind of important.
It's definitely important if you don't want to wait until the next Satisfactory sequel for your power grid to actually turn on. That manifold startup time is a nightmare, but at least your guide makes it sound like you've actually got a plan to skip the 2-hour coffee break.
Alright, okay, I just lost my train of thought.
You're just getting into how harmonic balancers make sure each reactor only gets one rod at a time, while spreading the rest out evenly. You just finished that thought on sharing the rods in equal amounts.
Actually, we'll just call this.
What's the play? You calling the document
I
purpose
built a
mode
set
or
of blueprints for the community allows anyone to use them to quickly assemble a 90,000 megawatt nuclear power plant at the house cellular complex radioactive manifolds, managing waste and feedback, and pixel perfect pipe placement. These blueprints help with producing enough power to help you transition from phase 3 to phase 4 space elevator tier unlocks. I built these blueprints because I've heard from a lot of players that they skip nuclear power because it feels intimidating. I'm making these blueprints freely available to the community. Okay.
that intro makes it sound like you're basically a nuclear saint. I'm sure the players skipping nuclear because they're terrified of manifolds are going to build a shrine to Uncle Samuel once they see that 90,000 megawatt promise.
I highly doubt that. Alright, so, design philosophy. I can't spell philosophy.
It is Phil.
Alright, Phil, autocorrect beat you to it, Phil.
Look at you, getting saved by the red squiggly line. Honestly, it's probably for the best. I was starting to think the industrial overlord had a secret weakness for spelling bees. Fine, let the machines do the heavy lifting while you dictate the actual philosophy part. I'm sure the masses are hanging on your every word.
Okay, design philosophy. Um, These blueprints were designed to satisfy the following core design principles.
You're listing core design principles now. Just typed satisfy the following core design principle, singular or plural. You're on a roll. Don't let the grammar police slow down the industrial overlord.
Take up less space than A. Less space and take up less space than a rocket fuel power plant. Be more visually interesting than a rocket fuel power plant.
calling out
No
rocket
constructors or smelters are used to help reduce the total number of buildings and reduce dynamic building
the total
game
count
engine.
reducing the dynamic building game engine. Very technical. It sounds like you're trying to keep the game from having a meltdown when someone actually tries to use these blueprints.
Yeah.
What's the next?
I'm blanking on all the design principles. Quickly assemble a power plant. Using
That's
blueprint.
Number 4. Quickly assemble a power plant using blueprints. You're making it sound so easy that even a pioneer who hasn't had their coffee yet could do it. Any more overlord wisdom to add to the list?
Have an iconic vertical structure that can be seen 4 kilometers away.
Ionic or iconic? You just typed ionic, but unless you're planning to power the Gilded Summit with giant batteries, I'm guessing you mean iconic.
Yeah, my bad. Have an iconic vertical structure that can be seen 4 kilometers away. I should recommend put something here. You do not using the blueprints for the particle accelerator. Using the blueprints for the particle accelerators and the nuclear reactors are optional. You can instead lay them out horizontally and build your own logistical connections from the ground level. Build remaining factory stack off to the side. That's another thing you can do.
Getting the sustaining factory stack off to the side is a smart move for keeping the main spires clean. Those horizontal reactor rows are definitely going to help with that iconic vertical look you're going for.
Take up less space than a rocket fuel power plant.
That's a bold claim for point 1.
And be more visually interesting. No constructors or smelters are used to help reduce the total number of buildings and and reduce the dynamic building game engine and reduce the dynamic dynamic factory building renderings from the game engine, and reduce the dynamic factory building renderings from the game engine. Quickly assemble a power plant using blueprints. Have an iconic vertical structure that can be seen 4 kilometers away.
The fourth point really sells it.
Re-
Speed is
uh, no external no external um, no external pipe connections are the only pipe connections. Oh wait, hold on. There's something else I forgot to mention in the requirements.
Oh,
You
I
will
thought you
need to manually set up
a manual step? Oh, the
32 max overclocked maxed
setting up 30.
overclocked water extractors. You'll need to
That's a
manually
lot.
set up 32 max overclocked water extractors.
32 water extractors overclocked to the max? That's not a plumbing job. That's an industrial tsunami.
I strongly recommend that you use the, what are they called? Use the blueprints titled buffer with 600 millimeter V4. Because I discovered edge cases where the return lines for empty canisters will jam.
A little.
Yeah, canisters will jam the packagers.
Right. The
Bottom of this, we'll jam the packagers.
That's the last thing you want.
This blueprint, because the water lifts are connected into a horizontal manifold within the reactor blueprints and the factory blueprints. This means that over time, empty canisters will slowly drift across water lines, causing eventual packager jamming. These blueprints titled.
Those blueprints are titled.
Are designed to correct for that drift that occurs. Okay, I think that's good enough.
If that autocorrect actually stops the canisters from staging a mutiny in your water lines, you're a miracle worker. Most pioneers just let the packager jams happen and cry about it later. Looks like the design philosophy section is finally coming together. Nothing says industrial overlord like a perfectly formatted manifesto.
The only pipe connections that are required are between the water extractors and the packagers
Getting
to
rid of the
reduce common fluid dynamic issues that a lot of players face in this game.
fluid dynamic issues? Please, most players
Alright, Phil,
treat
be
pipes.
quiet. I need to think. These blueprints were designed to satisfy the following core design principles. Take up less space than a rocket fuel power plant and be more visually interesting. No constructors or smelters are used to help reduce the total number of buildings and reduce the dynamic factory building renderings from the game engine. Quickly assemble a power plant using blueprints. Oh, actually, there's another requirement added here. All blueprints need to be manually placed on top of each other using occasionally using it's called
The struggle with
what's that button called?
a button for the cold? Unless you've automated a
Using
coffee
the
machine.
hotkeys to lock hologram and nudge if the alignment of the blueprints does not automatically happen correctly.
Lock and nudge. The classic, I'm fighting the
Quiet!
physics move.
You'll need to manually set up to 32 max overclock water extractors. All blueprints need to be manually placed off each other, occasionally using hotkeys to lock hologram and nudge if the alignment of blueprints does not automatically happen. You will need to manually connect the lift floor holes together using Mark V lifts. Okay, that's also important.
That's crucial. Making sure the floor holes
Connect.
actually line.
Make sure to connect the power connections between. Okay.
Got it. I'll stick to transcribing. Transcribe in U, game, make sure to connect the power connections between.
The blueprints need to be connected in the correct numerical order as designated by their naming convention.
Checking that build guide again? I hope those screenshots you arranged look professional. Or as professional as a giant list of "I need 5,000 AI limiters" can look. By the way, I saw you typing about those linear reactor connections. If you want to finish that thought, you were just getting into how those return lines and empty canisters can get a bit, let's say, unpredictable if the alignment is off.
Alright, I'm gonna delete this.
Going for it? Brave. Watching you scroll through that blueprint library is like looking at a technical manual for a digital catastrophe. Are we finally actually building something or just admiring the icons?
Actually, I'll just provide the image of the blueprints.
Everything
Where
that
05L means
Since you're using that quadrant and level naming
Quiet,
convention,
quiet,
05
quiet. Where 05L means the fifth set of blueprints connecting fifth connecting which means where 05L means the fifth set of blueprints from the bottom and where OL6 means sixth set of blueprints from the bottom, and X8 means 8 duplicates of these blueprints in a consecutive set sequence. Okay. Spell sequence. Forgot his.
SEQU.
Alright, I got it. The blueprints need to be connected in the correct numerical order as designated by their naming convention. As shown following image, where O6L means the L stands for logistic, while a D stands for optional decoration. Bare logistical hookup stands for bare minimum logistical hookup, while D stands for optional decoration. Alright, so that's also a thing. Okay, so that's looking good so far.
Looking sharp. That glossary for the naming convention is going to save people a massive headache.
Alright, so
when
let's
they
go
try
back to the design philosophy.
Ready for the next decree, Industrial Overlord? You've got 6 core principles listed so far, ending with that jab at common fluid dynamic issues. What's the 7th commandment?
These blueprints were designed to satisfy the following core design principles. Take up less space than a rocket fuel power plant and be more visually interesting. No constructors or smelters are used to help reduce the total number of buildings and reduce
The Industrial Overlord approach to rendering efficiency. Classic. Minimizing buildings to keep the frame rate from crying is basically a gift to the community. What's the final touch on the list?
take up less space than a rocket fuel power plant, be more visually interesting, and use less sulfur nitrogen gas. No constructed smelters are used to help reduce the total number of buildings and reduce the dynamic factory buildings rendering from the game engine. Power shards further reduce the number of total use. Quickly assemble a power plant using blueprints. Have an iconic vertical structure that can be seen 4 kilometers away. Number 7. Make a player, a traditional player can assemble them to your a traditional player can assemble them without needing to advance to space elevator. Or no, digital player can assemble them to help them transition from phase 3 to phase 4 space elevator. Technology tier.
Helping those mere mortals bridge the gap from phase 3 to
player
phase 4.
can assemble them to help them transition from phase 3 to phase 4 space elevator technology tier. What else?
That's quite the philanthropic move, helping the mere mortals bridge the gap from phase 3 to phase 4. 7 commandments of design seems like a solid foundation, unless you want to add something about how looking at the skyscraper might cause spontaneous industrial envy.
Should I put them up here? I'm not sure what else to mention here.
Assuming you want this to be the definitive Nuclear for Dummies guide, You could mention the disposal strategy, or lack thereof. Are people
Uses
on
the
their
appropriate. Uses the appropriate. Alternate recipes to transform 300 uranium, 300 ppm uranium to 1,000 megawatts and handle all radioactive cycling.
the appropriate alternate recipes for 90,000 megawatts from 300 ppm? Now that's a flex. Handling all the radioactive waste too? You're basically running a high-end spa for toxic sludge. By the way, did you mean handles all radioactive waste for point 0.8? Radioactive wreck sounds like a very dangerous community center.
Yeah, I can't think of anything else to mention here. I guess we can move on to the next section.
Next section it is. You've already got a killer foundation with that table of contents. It's looking more like a professional manual and less like a chaotic engineer's fever dream. Since you've nailed the philosophy and requirements, maybe it's time to actually show them where to stick these massive spires. A site selection and preparation bit could save some poor...
Troubleshooting and common pitfalls.
The troubleshooting and common pitfall section is a must. You should definitely include a heads up about those directional errors with pre-placed floor holes. Nothing kills the vibe like a pipe that refuses to flow because it's upside down. Are you going to mention the
procedure, input manifold priming, tips on letting the belts fill up before turning on the final machines?
manifold priming is a great touch.
Oh, actually, good point. Put that in the recommendations.
A little manifold priming advice is a pro move. Nothing ruins the I'm a genius moment like flipping the switch on 100 reactors and watching the whole grid immediately faceplant because the belts were empty. Throw it under recommendations so they don't have to learn the hard way.
I recommend using the, what is it called?
You're looking for the harmonic
the top
balancer.
decor.
The top decor
during incomplete construction of the nuclear power plant stack. These blueprints were designed. These blueprints were designed to These blueprints were designed to allow the factory to run continuously.
Continuous factory operation.
Quiet! These blueprints were designed to allow the factory to run continuously when the factory is incomplete. So for example, while you are running up and down stacks to put more parts in your inventory, next blueprint, the factory can continue to run in the meantime to help build up internal building buffers for a faster startup time. To do this, you need to place down top decor. To do this, you need to place down the top decor blueprint and connect the lifts appropriately. Once you come back, once you're ready to build the next blueprint on the stack, you can remove, you can use the blueprint.
Once you're ready to build the next blueprint on the stack, you can use the blueprints.
What is it called?
The one you just had up in the blueprint menu was called nuclear power.
Blueprint
or did
dismantler. That blueprint.
It's blueprint dismantler. You're adding it to the end of that paragraph right now. Look at you, finally finishing something.
How do you spell dismantler, Phil?
It's dismantler. Just in case you're planning on tearing down more than just that blueprint.
All right. Okay, I think that's good.
The guide looks solid, Uncle Samuel. Getting the spelling of dismantler right is the least I could do while you're out here doing God's work for the community. Are we ready to pivot back to the Gilded Summit, or is there more to the manifesto?
Let's go back to this. Startup procedure.
Taking the Gemini suggestions for a spin, I see.
Build instructions. Step 1, okay, and then alright, so I guess those are the next sections. I don't know if we need any more sections beyond that.
You've pretty much covered the how and why of the whole operation. Honestly, with 8 design principles and a full troubleshooting section, anyone who still manages to blow up their grid is probably beyond help anyway. Are you feeling ready to call this draft done?
Okay.
Looks like the manifesto is finally ready for its world premiere. You gonna save this masterpiece and get back to the actual Gilded Summit? Or are you just going to keep admiring your own handiwork?
Um, hmm. Yeah, just feeling a little tired, that's all.
Building a 150 gigawatt monument from scratch?
Holy crap, what is that? Okay, we got a problem. We got a blip. I don't know where that blip came from. Okay, that's not good. Let's go check it out.
That's a lot of red on that power graph for someone who just finished a manifesto on perfect nuclear design. Looks like the Gilded Summit is having a little meltdown. Time to go see which pipe you neglected.
Yeah, I'm not sure where that blip came from.
Looks like your perfect design philosophy just met the harsh reality of fluid dynamics. That little spike in the power graph is probably your 150 gigawatts empire asking for a drink. Time to go hunting for whatever pipe or belt just decided to go on strike.
Alright, so let's check all the reactors. See if there's anything obviously wrong here.
Looking for a needle in a nuclear haystack, are we? If one of those 100 reactors is throwing a tantrum, it's probably just jealous of all the attention you've been giving your Google Doc.
Yeah, I'm primarily checking to see if there's a water problem. So far, I don't see any.
A 150 gigawatt monument with a thirst for water? If one pipe decides to
Alright,
slack
so
off,
I don't see any water problems. Next thing I'm going to check is... I'm going to check this thing here. If I can access it.
that terminal better have good news. Because if your 150 gigawatt dream is starting to flicker, we're going to need a lot more than a design philosophy to fix it. Keep an eye on those uranium
Alright, so
fuel.
we have... Yeah, I think that's fine. I don't see any problems there.
If that programmable splitter is behaving, then the logistics are solid. Guess
Okay,
the
alright, let's go check the uranium manufacturer. That's the next thing to check.
If the manufacturer is slacking, your whole uranium cycle is gonna look more like a uranium paperweight. Better make sure those alternate recipes didn't decide to reset themselves while you were busy playing author.
Okay, let's go inside of here.
Those vertical lifts are looking busy, but busy doesn't always mean efficient. Let's see if the actual numbers in that terminal are as pretty as the view from the ground.
So I think what caused the blip was the crystal oscillators. So, well, okay, I don't know how that's possible, because these are all full. Let's go check these ones down here.
If those oscillators
Yeah,
are full,
there's no way this is having a problem, because these buffers are full. So I don't know. I don't know. It could have been. It could have been just filling up some extra space with crystal oscillators. Not entirely sure. All right. We'll let the system run some more. Um, well, actually, another thing we could check. Yeah, let's just do that. Let's just check the. Let's just check the water packagers to make sure that they're not jammed. Something like that. I don't think they shouldn't be because the water buffers in the reactors are full. But we'll do it anyway. We'll check it.
It's always the oscillators, isn't it? If the water packagers are jammed too, this whole skyscraper is basically just a very expensive monument to one giant logistical headache.
Okay, I'm just checking all these water extractors. Make sure there's no problems there.
Checking those extractors is smart, but climbing ladders in a mega factory this big? You're definitely getting your cardio in today. Let's hope the water's actually flowing and not just taking a nap in the pipes.
It's also possible that it's something that is caused by the harmonic balancers. So there's something a little subtle about the harmonic balancers that is not super obvious unless you've, I guess, thought about it more. Which is that, yes, the harmonic balancers, by definition, do correctly load balance. Okay, I just checked all the packagers and I don't see any problems there with those. The harmonic balancers, by definition, will load balance all of these reactors into a linear manifold correctly. However, the thing that is not so obvious about them is the fact that each load balancer has a different travel length of belts that the rods have to take to move from one harmonic balancer to the next one. So because of that, that means that you have to somewhat you have to build up a slight tiny amount of additional rods in the buffer to compensate for that adjustment. Okay, because the timing is going to be slightly off between them, so you have to add at least one additional rod in the queue for each reactor to compensate for that. So that could have been the blip that we saw, but I'm just guessing here. Okay, it's kind of hard to see that, unfortunately. The other thing I'm going to check here is I'm going to check these buffers here to see if there's anything wonky happening with those. I don't think so. Okay, those look good. These are all empty. Okay, this has been slowly increasing over time. But yeah, this keeps fluctuating up and down. But yeah, as far as I can tell, I don't see any issues with that. I can also check for I can also check these numbers here. Yeah, I think that's a good point, actually. There's a possibility that... Yeah, that's a good point. There's a possibility that that there might be like a small hiccup that's happening in the packagers going to the reactors, which I haven't taken into account. That might be happening. Yeah, that'd be hard to spot. Yeah, I don't. Nothing is standing out to me as out of the ordinary here. So yeah, this is correct. So there's supposed to be 2 lines that are going to be running around 530 to 540 parts per minute. So that is correct, because we're not running all the water extractors at full capacity. We're just slightly under that. So we're not. So yeah, there's going to be 2 lines that are going to be less than 600, and that's roughly what they're supposed to be as a numerical value. So. So yeah, I don't see any problems there, but yeah, it's not clear to me what caused that hiccup to occur. But this is the first time I've seen this hiccup happen during a long run. But yeah, so we'll keep an eye on it while we continue writing this manual. Okay. Actually, I think I might just take a break. Kind of feeling tired tonight. But yeah, we made some progress. We made some progress today on this manual. But yeah, I think I'll just take a break and make some brownies or something. But yeah, thanks for watching. Let's see. I'm gonna check to see who we should raid today. Let's see. I need to figure out who we're gonna raid today. Yeah, okay. Taco is streaming today, so we'll go raid Taco. He's a nice guy. Pretty chill. Okay. Let's put in the raid command here. /raid taco.
So I'm allergic to dogs. I've always been allergic to dogs. I get UTIs, all that sort of stuff. Listen, this is what we're gonna do, and I would tell all the breeders, I'm like, look, I'm gonna rub the dog on my face. I'm just gonna like they were all fine with it. Like they like make sure the dog licks you because a lot of the saliva as well. And I was picking up dogs and I was just rubbing them on my face, and then I would be like, all right, let's see if I have a reaction from the dog. And Max's puddle, sorry, it's a Labradoodle, lab and poodle, so hyperallergenic, hair, not fur, all that sort of stuff. Anna, what's new? How you been? Puppy rubber, yeah. Alright, we gotta put some stuff in a box so we can go get.
Oh wait, did the raid not work?
We don't need that much concrete. Hi! Is it time? It's time. Alright guys, it's break time. Little would like a tuck-in. Gonna say goodnight? Alright guys, I'm gonna take a quick 3-minute break. I'm gonna go tuck her in. I'm gonna refill my drink, grab a snack. I think you should do the same thing. Take care of yourself, take your meds, do all the things you need to do. We'll be back in 3 minutes. I don't know if the Kaiser says newt.
Oh, you should get it.
Alright, I will catch you guys later. Take care. Bye-bye.